We made it out the storm and moved into the light. In love with life, with the sun shining bright. Doing things right, with good things in sight. Trying to stay strong and hold on with all might. I'm a hip-hop junkie, I'll never be a flunky. All I do is rock on dope beats, it's funky. Living my best life, but I know there's more to come. Used to stare at my shoes, now I'm shining in the sun. With my head held high, admiring blue skies. Had to change my outlook, cause tomorrow I could die. So I pray before bed, and I pray before I rise. Looking for the truth, so I'm not blinded by the lies. Had to cut all ties with my old way of thought. Found out who I am.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Now That We Have Recovered. My name is Joe Stevens, and I am here with Ruben. What's up, Ruben?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, been a minute.
Thanks for coming out and doing this with us tonight.
No worries.
So we put this together to try to help others,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you have a great story, and I feel like, you could definitely help a lot of people. So I'm really happy you came out tonight to talk with us. So I'd like you to kind of start with the last day or the last week before you decided to get sober, what that was like, the kind of struggles you went through.
With last week, I want to say, man, it was I want to say I was clean for about 6 of the last 7 days.
Okay.
I wasn't using or anything like that, and I had put about 14 days together. I remember it was right at the beginning I had started living with my cousin. My parents had told me I wasn't welcome at their house anymore, that I couldn't continue doing what I was doing under the roof. And it was like somebody explained it to me as a complete moment of deflation.
Okay.
I was on a bus, and I was traveling to Sacramento from Southern California. That's where I did a lot of my using.
Okay.
Well, I was welcomed into my aunt and my cousin's home, and I was there, and then basically same rules, you can't use here, they were going to help me get clean or stop using and stop drinking, stop doing all the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was okay at first, like 6 out of 7 days. I went to a couple meetings, and I could always stop using, but I couldn't stay stopped.
Yeah.
It was always whether I got a little healthy, a little money in my pocket, and things like that, and I would go back. Go back.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah. Doing exactly what I started doing, what I ran from, or I stopped. I'm going to stop. It's the last time. And I remember I had been to a treatment facility before for about 60 days. And I had left there not willingly. I was asked to leave politely, but right about 60 days.
You were kicked out.
Yeah, I was kicked out, exactly. I was kicked out, I was on a program there where it's called Grow or Go. And obviously I didn't grow.
Okay.
So they said I had to go. So I went back home, and when I went back home, I wasn't using. I was sober for 6-7 months. Got a wild hair in my ass one day and decided, hey, I'm going to go back out and start using again.
Yeah.
Well, one thing led to another. 2-3 months maybe, I was on a run. My parents said, that's enough. You got to go.
Okay.
So that was right around Christmas of 2014.
Okay.
So I had 2 or 3 weeks, used a little bit, put another week together. But I remember I had went to a meeting on New Year's Eve, I believe, and I had seen some old people that they had actually worked at the facility that I was at before. Okay. And they asked during the meeting, they do a clean time countdown. So when I did my countdown, I think I had 2 or 3 weeks at that time, and they had brought it up to my aunt, who was in a 12-step fellowship as well, and they offered me a bed at the facility again because they didn't know I had such little time. Okay. And I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back, and you know what I said? You know what? I'll do it. Well, I thought maybe I shouldn't go. So I had a bright idea, and maybe I should get loaded before. So if I go in and test dirty, they're not going to let me in. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Nope. God had other plans. They decided I tested dirty. They decided, you know what, are you kicking, or are you going through withdrawals or anything like that? And I said, no. So I said, okay, can you program when you get there? Yeah. So January 12th was the day I got on that bus.
Okay.
or a van,
Uh-huh.
to the middle of nowhere, back to the middle of nowhere again. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew, like, you know what? I want to try to give this another shot. It was what I could tell you is I was miserable.
Yeah.
When it was just like a cycle. I couldn't stop, and then I stopped for maybe 2-3 days, whether it be a week or two, whether because I didn't have any money or somebody wasn't coming through, and I would stop. I'd get through my kicks. My drug of choice was heroin and methamphetamine.
Okay.
So I would go through the physical withdrawals, put on a little weight, and maybe get a little money in my pocket, and then I was off and running again. I'd burn it all down. That was basically from the age of about 18, 19 to 24, right before I turned 25.
Okay.
And that was basically my life. I had no purpose, no nothing. It was just a lot of people know it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, vicious cycle.
That's the way it was.
And sometimes, some people have these big events, like, they end up in prison or they get in a crazy car wreck, or they get close to losing their life. And it sounds like I think what you're saying is, like, sometimes it's just that feeling inside of you, just worthlessness, kind of, and just like, I'm done doing this shit. Is that what got you clean?
I wouldn't say that. I've had 3 or 4 overdoses in my life.
Okay.
They weren't enough to get me to stop. I can't say it was my parents kicking me out. I can't say it was that. What I know is, even when I went to the treatment facility that I was at the second time, up until about 2 months in, I was still ready to leave. I had to talk to a few different people, a few different times. It was, I can't tell you what it is, what it was that finally got it to stick, because they talk about spiritual experiences, and I had a few of those, but they weren't enough to get me to stop. So I can't tell you exactly what it was. Maybe they call it the educational variety of the way the spiritual experiences are. That maybe is what it was.
Yeah, like the blinding flashes of the obvious.
Yeah,
kind of coming forth.
Yeah. That's exactly. I think maybe that's what it was. But I can't tell you there was a specific time that stopped me.
Okay.
Maybe it's just an accumulation of the things that had happened in my life, and I was just done.
So when you got out to that facility, you just kicked butt and got into gear?
Oh, definitely no. Definitely not. That's never.
You're playing hacky sack.
Yeah, playing hacky sack, joking around. I was a real jokester, but I stuck with a few people this last time that almost like that I felt like they were doing something different, and I listened this time. Before it was I know. That's the way I'd like to think of myself as a pretty smart person, and I know this and I know that, but obviously I didn't know how to get clean.
Yeah.
So I stuck with a few people. I found a few guys that were doing something different and something positive, and they really weren't like the normal people I hung out with. That's what I think was I decided to do differently, because they were people that were completely different from me.
Yeah. In what ways?
Physically, they didn't look like me. They weren't from the same walks of life that I, they didn't project themselves the way I did.
Okay.
Whether it be, I think it was a facade at that time that I had to be this tough guy or to be this or that.
Yeah.
It was just, to be honest with you, some of them were there's some geeks, and that's what, you know what I mean? I don't want to make them sound like that, but, they were somebody that I would normally victimize, you know? These were guys like, oh, you guys are weirdos, You're not, you're lames.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it, like I said, without being so negative. They were, I want to say, lames.
Okay.
But
and they end up being your friends?
Definitely.
Okay.
Some of my best friends,
Okay. So you stayed out there, you started paying attention, you stopped being a know-it-all, met some new friends that were different characters than you were used to. What other stuff did you do while you were out there?
You know what? I worked in the kitchen there.
Okay.
Obviously, you can tell I like to eat. I like to eat. I definitely like to eat.
Is the camera catching that? Okay.
Yeah. It's to me, it was something like I had to stay busy. You know, whether it be I went to the gym. They had a gym at that facility. Thank God.
Yeah.
There was a big ranch out there. It was it was nice. You know, it was a good to get away from the city or anything. It was almost like its own little utopia there.
Yeah.
Where you had, you know, it was how do I say, it was insulated from a lot of the outside influences of what was going on. It allows you
Out
to
in the middle of the nowhere.
yeah, it allows you to really work on yourself.
It's almost like a little city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Their own laundry room, things like that.
How long did you stay out there for?
I stood out there for almost 6 months the
Okay.
second time. It was 60 days the first time and 6 months the second time.
Okay.
You know, I stood there as a resident for 90 days, and I was offered a volunteer position there. You know, really didn't feel like a volunteer because, you know, I was there for like, you didn't have a choice. You had to work 12-hour shifts, especially if they were short-staffed. Do things like check residents in, you know, do write-ups or make sure everybody's doing their chores, things like that. And to go from resident to that volunteer was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a challenge because I'm a smart ass. And if somebody says something smart to me, I'm always gonna have to say something smart back. And I really, at that time, I couldn't look at the things I was doing wrong. It was more like, what are you doing wrong? I wasn't listening to you to understand you. I was listening to have a response, to be a smart ass. So that was a real challenging position for me to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you made it through? Did it for 3 months?
I did it for a little over 2, yeah. And then I think I was at a point where it was almost becoming where me being there, there was you could go 3 days and then go on pass for 3 days. I believe it was 3 days. And I was just staying there, you know.
Yeah.
And it was almost becoming redundant where I was becoming comfortable there. And at that point, I believe my counselor seen that it could benefit me to leave there at that time. And I felt like they were kicking me out.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like they were making me leave, you know, like, get the hell out of here. And in the end, it was a blessing, you know. It was a blessing. I stood there for those 2 months, a little over 2 months as a volunteer, and it was definitely a blessing.
Okay. And so when you left that place, what'd that look like?
I was offered I had to go through this interview process at this transitional housing.
Okay.
And when I went there, I had to go through a panel interview, things like that, to see if I could actually go and if I met the requirements to stay there. And I did. It was I want to say it was like I had a studio apartment with a little kitchenette that I had no access to, where it was had a bed, couch, and really that's it.
Yeah.
I had a TV that I barely used. You know, I when I got there, I went to the gym a lot, and that's really pretty much it. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was in recovery then, and in reality, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was just staying busy, occupying my time, whether it be physical activities, hanging out with friends, and they might have been in recovery or working on themselves, but I wasn't. I was just occupying my time, staying busy, whether I was trying to look for side work or things like that, and going to the gym. My main thing was softball in the gym.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Activities.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Activities,
Fun and exercise and stuff like that. And you know, I mean, that can help too. That can definitely help. Did you kick into gear at any point?
You know what, I did. I believe it was in November of 2015. I had about, I want to say about 9 months, 10 months. I was playing baseball and I broke my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd broken my arm and I ended up in the hospital for about 6 days. And when I ended up there, I was given a Dilaudid drip.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So it was like a big, scary thing that I had to call. I called my aunt, which she was in the program, 12-step fellowship. And when I called her, I asked her, I go, you know, they want to give me this Dilaudid drip. You know, what should I do? And they're telling me I have a spiral fracture in my humerus and I need a surgery. But I can't have surgery yet. It's going to be a few days. So she said, you know what, you're not John Wayne. I remember her telling me that. You're not John Wayne. You know, take the medication the doctor's telling you need to take it. So they gave me the drip. I'm there from Tuesday evening till Sunday morning. I don't have surgery till Friday. When I had the surgery, they sent me home with 100 Norcos and 100 oxycodones.
Damn.
You know, which was a gut check for me.
Yeah.
Because at that point, there was no balance in my life. There was no like, I have recovery, I have this, or I have this. It was just, all I was doing was occupying my time with physical activities. And all that came to a crashing halt when I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was in you said my arm was surgically repaired. I had about 90 stitches in my arm, plate and screws in my arm, so I couldn't do anything. So that was a big time gut check. And I remember when I went home, they sent me home. Here are your pills, go ahead and go home. And to me, I had a choice there. I could either communicate what's going on, because I knew in my mind that I couldn't do anything at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like go to the gym or go do this or that. It was, I'm going to go back to my little studio and sit with my thoughts and be miserable, in which I have all these pills. I could easily just start taking these pills and go on a run.
Yeah.
Or I could communicate what's going on and hit a meeting. And I communicated what was going on and hit a meeting. That's when things changed for me. I realized where I was going. I realized I hadn't been in recovery, or I hadn't been.
Yeah.
All I was doing was just, it was just so like I wasn't in sobriety. It was just, that was it. I just wasn't putting in. That's the best way to put it.
Did you finish off those pills and then stop, or?
No, I didn't actually take any of those pills.
Okay.
I actually gave them to my aunt. So there was 200 pills that were in those bottles, and I gave them to my aunt. And I can say this now, at a time, I needed money. I sold those pills. Not a lot of people are going to sit there and admit to that, but that's something, I did that. And maybe I contributed to somebody else's addiction or their vices, but that's what I did at the time. Like I said, I'm not cured. I'm not all well and wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's something, like I said, I didn't take one of those pills.
Okay.
And I was always told, if we have to, it's not as doctor prescribed, because I can easily manipulate that. I can easily say, oh, okay, well, maybe I missed, instead of 4 hours, I took it at 2 hours. So it's these things, anything I take is as needed.
Okay.
So that's, to me, it was, I didn't need them. So I started hitting meetings and doing things like that, and just stuck with those people those people that I met. I was fortunate enough to have those people that were at that facility with me, that residential treatment center. They actually, a few of them actually went to the same transitional living that I did. So I stuck with those people. And that was a big time blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you find it, did you find yourself, because you said you had like some smart ass stuff and things like that. Did you find yourself working on things like that? Like learning not to be a smart ass, like learning to control your temper, learning to sit in your emotions and do things differently?
Yes, and that's still a work in progress.
Yeah, me too.
It's still a work in progress. It definitely is, because I can easily fall back into those bad habits. Those when I had to sit and really look at some of the things that whether my character defects or my shortcomings, I had to really look at things for exactly what they were. And that was a real eye opener.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed out at that facility. How long were you there for?
I was there for, I believe, 9 months.
Okay. What'd you do after that?
I stayed in my, moved out of there. I went to my cousin's house, and he allowed me to live at his house for a little bit.
Okay.
Rented a room from him, shout out to my cousin Jason. He's a big part of why I'm where I'm at today. And he's not in the program. It's my aunt's son. He, man.
Yeah.
He was there for me a lot. And like I said, he's like my brother. He opened his home to me, and he gave me any kind of guidance that I needed. And it was like, to me, he's a godsend, you know. Even in the when my parents told me I couldn't live with him, he was there. And he opened his home to me. That 9 months that it was a year-long transitional program. I was supposed to be working on work skills. I was just playing hacky sack, playing Xbox or PlayStation, things like that, and I didn't take full advantage of the resources that were there. But I was fortunate enough to find a couple of jobs. I was working 2 jobs for a little bit, and staying with him, back and forth. I was dating a girl at the time, so I'd stay back and forth from his house to her house and things like that. So,
okay,
yeah.
So you're working, you're living with family. Is your aunt still in the picture?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My aunt's still in the picture. She was a big part. She actually passed away, but she was a huge part of my where I'm at today. You know, the things that I do now. She was a huge part of it. You know, she passed away with, I want to say, 21 years of clean time. You know, and she was a huge part of that. She gave me a lot of advice. Sometimes I listened and sometimes I didn't. You know, she'd always tell me things for exactly what they were. She wouldn't sugarcoat anything. She wouldn't sit there and like be my codependent.
Yeah.
She wouldn't enable me. She'd tell me exactly how it needed to be.
So I know we're at one point in your story, but I wanted to ask a follow-up question to that. So you said she passed away. Dealing with grief and recovery, was it hard for you to manage your emotions and your feelings and stuff and stay sober when your aunt passed? I know she was held dear to you.
I don't think it was really hard. I had a hard time. They say grief comes in waves, and I believe sometimes I think I'm like, are you a sociopath, or are you just really spiritually fit where you can handle the things that come to you? You know, and what I did was I communicated what was going on, how I was feeling with my support group, or even my cousin, you know, her son, and it was tough to deal with it because, like, you know, she was the reason why I got clean. You know, she was a godsend. She was an angel, my guardian angel. She still is, you know. But when it happened, it was so sudden that it was like a shock, you know.
Yeah.
Almost like I wasn't prepared for it. And I believe I was staying in the same house as her at that time. So it wasn't like I hadn't seen her in a minute or seen her in a while. So we had a pretty good relationship where it was like, I didn't have a lot of regrets, you know, so I, you know, she knew I loved her. We communicated on a daily basis and things like that. So it wasn't like, it was, oh man, this happened and then I hadn't seen her in 2 or 3 months, you know?
Yeah.
So it was tough to really get to accept the fact that she was gone, because there'd be times where I would want to call her, things like that, and realize she's not there, you know? But the grief part was, I want to say I really communicated how I was feeling.
Okay.
You know, and I really accepted the sadness or the funny moments that we had when they came. You know, the little fond memories.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So going back to when you were living at the house and stuff, so you're working a job, you're seeing a girl, and kicking butt in your recovery and jumping out there. What starts coming after that?
You know, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, you know. I had my own things that I was going through, you know. That relationship I was talking about was, I would say it was, the truth is I wasn't ready for a relationship. I shouldn't have been in a relationship. I don't think that other person should have been either. You know, we both weren't ready for a relationship. And when you put two sick people together, you know, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to cure each other. So it was I would say it was a toxic relationship on both sides. So that was an obstacle I had to get through while not using and not putting in, and also not going to jail. You know? So that was a big thing that I overcame. I don't know if that's the right word to say. I overcame it, you know, but I definitely I got out of that relationship, I believe, just in time, because one of us was probably going to end up in jail.
Okay.
You know, so that was a good thing that I you know, but my MO is I'll stay in a relationship as long as possible, where let them kick me to the curb.
Yeah.
You know? But this time I actually did something different, and I decided to step away because I could see it wasn't healthy.
Okay.
You know, this is a time in my life where there was a lot of firsts of me doing something different, you know, and that was definitely a different thing I did. I walked away from a relationship without having to destroy everything.
Cool, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So so you get out of that relationship, you're still living with your cousin?
Yeah.
And how are you feeling your time now that you're back on your own?
You know, I remember it was like there was no plan that I had, and that was like a lack of planning. I remember at that transitional, I went through a class. It's called The Power of Now. And I knew I couldn't worry about the future too much, but I had to be here. You know, I had to be here and not stress too much, but I had to keep, as long as I didn't put in, then I was okay. I just continued to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a time where, honestly, I believe I was just, you know, day in and day out, I was just putting 24 hours together.
Okay.
You know?
So now that I didn't ask you your sobriety date in the beginning?
January 12th, 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking you did mention it. But anyway, so in that time, what are the gifts you've gotten from recovery?
I would say a big thing is I'm open to suggestions. I'm open-minded. You know, a lot of things that before in growing up, it was that's lame. You know, that's something that's not going to work. That contempt prior to investigation.
Yeah.
Those things that normally, like I said, I would brush to the side. They didn't mean anything. Well, when I tried something different, there was a guy that I was in treatment with that I was having trouble understanding and believing this is going to work for me. And he told me, do you believe that I believe? And I did. You know, and I think maybe now that I look back, that might have been the point where things started changing for me.
Yeah.
They started changing for me where I went from basically a homeless drug addict, had no purpose in living except for sticking a needle in my arm, to a functional member of society that, you know, people want me around.
Yeah.
You know, people wanted me around, and I was for no other reason than just being me. You know, that was a huge thing for me because I was always a person that I was an asshole. Well, I still am an asshole, but not as big an asshole.
Okay.
You know, that was a huge thing I think I could take I'm very open-minded.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Family at all right now?
Definitely. I got a huge family.
Yeah.
I'm married and I have 5 kids. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Typical Mexican, you know. No.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Are you still in Sacramento?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I live in Southern California. I believe it was about 3 years ago that I moved back. I decided I'm originally from Southern California. I got clean in the Sacramento area, and I decided when I was strong in my foundation for my recovery that it was time to move back.
Okay.
And branch out as far as reconnecting, and not necessarily reconnecting, but strengthening the bonds in with my parents, my brothers, and things like that. So it's been about 3 years since I've been in Southern California.
Okay.
But it's been pretty good. There's been some rough times too. You know, it's like you said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but especially having 5 kids, and you know, I have 3 brothers. We're all pretty close, so it's it's pretty good.
I'm sure it's got to be stressful sometimes, huh? 5 kids?
It is. It definitely is. You know, there's a lot of I don't want to say, actually it is. It's fear. It's fear that I'm not going to live up to the expectations, or, you know, I'm not going to be good enough, or I'm not going to be able to provide for them. But I welcome it, you know. It's to me a huge blessing that is being able to be present for my kids, you know, to be here, even if it's sometimes I can't give them what they want. They'll always have what they need. Yeah, definitely. I can tell you that I'm here for my kids no matter what. I may not be the easiest to talk to, but you can always talk to me, especially if you're one of my kids.
How long you been with your wife?
We just celebrated 6 years.
Okay.
On
That's
January
awesome,
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
I had to remember that date, too. So we'll be married for
You're probably still a little
years.
burnt.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm messing with you.
Definitely a little burnt.
Man, you have a great story, dude. And I thank you for sharing it. It sounds like you have a great life, dude, and recovery's giving you something special, dude.
It definitely has, and they say you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams. Mm-hmm. It's true. Sometimes it's a nightmare, but most of the time they're pretty good. There's things that, you know, it's definitely a blessing. What recovery can do for you.
Well, thanks, dude, for coming out and sharing your experience and your strength and your hope with us. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Closed mouths don't get fed. You know, if you're going through something, you can talk to somebody. You know, if you feel like nobody's there, I'll be there. You know, that's a big thing. Is I've had some strangers reach out to me, and they've actually about how they got what they're going through, and I've been, even if it's just to talk to them a little bit. You know,
yeah.
Somebody cares. You know, it's not the end, you know?
Yeah.
There's always a way out, you know? No matter how bad things can get, they can always get better. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, dude, thank you. I appreciate that, man. That was great, dude.
Yeah.
Always good to see you, dude.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Good night.